Imagine one day you see someone sitting down, playing a game they enjoy just how it is, and they decide instead of playing the way the game was intended, make it 100 times harder, and every time you fail, you reset the game. Well, that person is me, playing hardcore Terraria on the Calamity Mod. Before the video starts, let me explain what the Calamity Mod is so you understand what I'm trying to accomplish. Calamity Mod is an add-on to the base game of Terraria that includes new enemies, bosses, and a harder difficulty. I'll be combining this mod with the hardcore mode in the character creator, which is a base game edition that turns you into a ghost when you die, forcing you to make a new character and world. What's that changing in the background? Nothing big, just all the time I've been sinking into this challenge. What, 136? 151? Nope, 154. Wait, it changed again. 167.3 hours in the challenge so far. Just for reference, 167 hours is equivalent to playing this game as your full-time job for a month straight. And have I made significant progress? I like to think so, but how about I just show you so you can see for yourself? Start things off, I'll give you a rundown of every mod I've installed and what I'm using them for. The first 5 are all completely cosmetic and just resource packs that change how the game looks, including coloring in the vanilla and Calamity boss relics so they aren't gold. Summoner UI shows you how many summons you can have at a time. Better Extractinator just makes the Extractinator work faster. Or Excavator lets you mine blocks in mass instead of one at a time. What mod is this from shows you what mod something is from. Duh. Boss Cursor shows you where the boss is off screen. Omniswing lets you use any weapon automatically so you don't have to click. Boss Checklist shows you the order of progression for bosses and events. Vanilla Calamity music replaces the normal music for new music. Infernum music is used for the Infernum mod. Calamity music is used for Calamity bosses and biomes. Calamity Infernum isn't actually needed since I'm playing in Revengeance mode, but I have it installed anyway. Recipe Browser is like a guide on the go and lets you see crafting recipes of any item. World Gen Previewer lets you see your world as it's being made, which lets me look at something instead of a boring loading screen, and is super useful when the Abyss likes to cut off parts of the dungeon, letting me make a new world. Absolute Aquarian Utilities is a mod for a mod. Subworld Library is also a mod for a mod. Magic Storage allows me to store things and craft with ease. AlchemistNPC Lite lets you buy potions so you don't have to make a garden for them. LuiAFK lets you craft quality of life items like a platform builder so you can build arenas faster. Start with base is a pretty simple one. You spawn with a base that has room for NPCs. And finally, Calamity Mod, which makes the game stupid difficult and is why you're watching in the first place. The mod list will also be down in the description if you want to try this for yourself, and of course feel free to download or not download whatever quality of life mods I have. Alright, let's run it back. My name is the Old King, and I've been attempting to beat hardcore Calamity on Revengeance mode. I've had over 200 runs fail, and at the 200 mark, I just stopped counting. Right now you're watching me head towards Crabulon, who is the 3rd main boss in progression. I've already beaten King Slime and the Desert Scourge, and I also fought and beat a mini-boss called the Giant Clam, which is how I got the weapon I'm using currently. The fight against Crabulon went pretty well, especially considering I didn't build an arena or get any buffs before fighting him. But he's not a particularly difficult boss, since he doesn't move very quickly, and you can actually destroy most of the projectiles that he shoots at you, which consist of slow-moving mushrooms, so I crushed without even going under half health. He does occasionally jump into the air, but it doesn't deal enough damage to me to be a problem when I fly over him to get to the other side of the arena, making him a pretty easy fight. I decided to fight Crabulon 4 more times to ensure I would get all the items that could come from his treasure bags, since I don't want to have to refight any bosses later because I'm missing a specific weapon or equipment, and any repeat items can be sold for coins, which could come in handy later. And by later, I mean right now. since the goblin happened to be in the same mushroom biome I was fighting Crabulon in. So I started reforging my gear right away, hoping for warding. What is warding? Warding is a modifier on your equipment that would give you 4 defense, but since this is Calamity, it also gives you a 1% damage reduction. And if you're able to get that on all of your gear, it adds up fast. There are 4 levels of the defensive modifications, but warding is the best, so it's all I go for. After testing out all the new gear I got from Crabulon, I decided to go with the Myco Root, which is a rogue weapon with a very short range, but it shoots at an insanely high speed. Now you're probably saying, King, that doesn't look short range at all, but those flying pink projectiles you see are from an equipment called Luxor's Gift, which I will explain in greater detail later, but if you're curious, here's the actual range of this weapon. Not much. With my new weapon in tow, I headed straight for the Crimson to fight the next boss in progression, the Brain of Cthulhu. I didn't bother building an arena because there was the structure of a dead behemoth in the center of the hive that I could fly around. However, I did place down a few torches so I could see. Crimson torches in particular, gotta keep up that torch luck. The fight against the Brain was less than trivial, since the projectile from Luxor's Gift has a piercing quality, which lets me easily kill all the creepers the Brain summons. Creepers are the little eyes, by the way. Now is probably a good time to mention and explain Rage and Adrenaline. Both these are limited time power boosts you can activate on your character under specific circumstances. Your Rage bar fills up anytime you're near any enemy, and when full you can use up your Rage for a damage boost. Adrenaline is very similar, but instead of going up around enemies, it goes up around bosses, as long as you haven't been hit. By activating both of these, the second phase was even easier than the first, since the insane attack speed combined with the damage boost let me kill the Brain in seconds. With another boss under my belt, I went ahead and placed down this statue called the Crimson Effigy, which I got from a chest on top of the skeleton in the Crimson. It gives you an extra 10 defense at the cost of a percentage of your maximum health. I also got a Crimson Key, which can open a chest in the dungeon, but I can't open it right now, so it doesn't matter. After making a new pickaxe with the flesh I got from the Brain, I waited around till nighttime to fight against the Eye of Cthulhu. I had already beaten the Eye, but decided to fight him again for the extra Crimtane ore and the Shield of Cthulhu. Luckily the Eye was a pushover, and I stomped him harder than Boruto stomped Code's face. In the Eye's defense, I wasn't able to charge up Adrenaline since it kept hitting me second phase, but it still didn't nearly enough damage to hurt me. With the Eye defeated, I went ahead and refought him a few times for even more Crimtane ore and a powerful early game summon, which does a large amount of damage and can attack through blocks. The only downside is that there can only be one, but I only have one summon slot anyway, so it literally doesn't affect me. Ready to face the next boss in progression, I head back to the Crimson to summon the Perforator Hive. With my new gear, I was incredibly confident, so I went in without building an arena or buffing up. But I did quickly place down a Bass statue and the Crimson Effigy mid-fight. Luckily my confidence was grounded deep in reality because the Myco Root is incredibly overpowered and I was eating through the Hive's health like you're eating through this content. Did you know that 100% of my viewers are raccoons in trench coats? Make sure to keep a lookout. And if you like what you're watching, make sure to like, and if you're interested in seeing the rest of the series, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I like to think I put a lot of work into these videos, and your engagement would mean a lot. Anyway, thanks for listening to the shill. Back to consuming content. So, the Perforator Hive spawns 3 worms that get progressively harder at certain points in the fight when you get it low enough. I like to summarize the worms like this. The first worm is like a giant worm you find in the caverns. The second worm is literally just a carbon copy of the Eater of Worlds. And the third worm is like those sandworms in the underground desert, but on steroids. Of course I beat them all with my insane pierce, and the Perforator by itself isn't really a threat. Once you beat the Perforator Hive, the ore that spawns exclusively on skylines becomes mineable, but that doesn't matter right now since I never mined any of it this life. Spoiler, I die. However, what I did do was build an arena and refight the Perforators, which of course was even easier with an arena. Although I did still get hit a few times, but I was never worried I was going to die. Just if I was going to defeat him before it became night again, because after that I decided to head to the dungeon to fight Skeletron, which you can only fight at nighttime. When I got to the dungeon, I actually built an arena since I had never gotten this far in progression before, and I didn't forget potions, so I could actually buff up before the fight. Unfortunately, I forgot to use them during the fight. The Skeletron fight was pretty standard until you destroy his hands. When he's just a skull, he'll occasionally teleport and shoot out 3 flaming skulls when he does it, but they're incredibly slow, so it's not hard to avoid. If you take too long, his hands do regrow, but you can just destroy them again. Definitely not a difficult fight, as long as you don't let it run into daytime when he becomes a dungeon guardian, which just one-shots you. But that's true even in vanilla Terraria, so I wasn't exactly worried about that aspect of the fight. I did go ahead and use the buffs before I went into the dungeon, since I didn't want to waste them. The haul from the dungeon was also pretty standard, and I didn't really use any of the stuff I got from it, other than the bewitching and alchemy table that you can get from there. With the next boss in progression being the Queen Bee, I headed right to the jungle. Calamity has this really convenient mahogany tree that always leads to a giant hive for you to fight Queen Bee in. I went ahead and built an arena since I'm pretty bad at the Queen Bee fight, and unless you beat her using the larva, it's not easy to craft her summoning item for future fights. I also went ahead and lit up the entire hive for visibility, but I used a mix of normal torches and jungle torches, so I guess I stopped caring about torch luck for this one. Alrighty. I suppose it's about time I explain Luxor's gift. Every weapon type has a special interaction with Luxor's gift. Depending on the weapon type, it creates a projectile that does a percentage of the main weapon, and each projectile has different physics. Melee weapon projectiles fly without gravity and bounce around. Magic weapons fly, and I believe they do armor piercing. Ranged weapons attack twice. Summoning has a flying squiggle thing, and Rogue, Precious Rogue, has a projectile with piercing that bounces around. And of course the projectile bounces perfectly to summon a second Queen Bee. At this point I'm thinking, oh fuck, I should have brought buffs. And then it happens. A third Queen Bee. Instantly I know it's Jover, I just don't have the skill or gear to beat 3 Queen Bees. Not even Doctor Strange could find a universe where I win this one. But in a desperate cling to hope, I teleport back home to get buffs. I quickly turn on auto pause so I can interact with the NPCs without the bees coming and swarming me, and buy every single buff that could possibly help me. I know it's futile, but I'm so far in this run it would hurt too much to give up right away. And there they are, enraged because I left the jungle, which only made this fight even harder. I buff up and start fighting. But they absolutely destroy me, and in my walk of shame, I exit out of the game so I don't have to watch myself die. I of course created a new world after this because I 100% would have been killed if I kept up that fight. Now, here's a montage of all my failures that never made any progress. Enjoy my suffering. So, I did a lot more than what I'm showing, but not only am I tired of editing in my deaths, but if I showed every single one, we would be here for another hour. Just trust me when I say I died a lot. Also, here's an example of the Abyss completely cutting off the dungeon, ending a run before it even started. Weird that there's no check in place to prevent that from happening. Alright, so here's the next run that actually went really well. If you're an acute observer... Alright, so here's the next run that actually went really well. If you're an acute observer, you'll notice I built a lava trap right at spawn to kill anything that comes near. Not only that, but I also have full gold armor and a gold pickaxe. Now I'm digging a elevator, and a few things to note about this run so far that makes drastically different decisions from my previous runs are that I have not beaten a single boss yet. I'm exclusively preparing ahead before even facing King Slime. The main reason I'm heading down to Hell are for two of the best weapons I can get that drop from a demon and a fire imp, a melee and rogue weapon. There is a third melee weapon that drops from bone snakes, but it's unlikely to get. You'll also notice that I'm lighting up my entire elevator and building walls on the sides so no enemies can get in. Safety has become my #1 priority. After finishing my elevator, I go ahead and grab Luxor's gift, which has conveniently spawned in a good spot, so I saw it right away as I was digging down, and I wasn't going to leave without it, and trust me, sometimes it doesn't spawn as conveniently, and I'm down in the desert for like 30 minutes. Before heading back to Hell for better weapons, I got a little impatient and went ahead and fought King Slime, but I'm way overprepared and easily beat him, netting me the first boss in progression. I then went back to Hell and began farming. Luckily it didn't take me long to get the weapons I wanted, and I was able to leave soon after. And the weapons I obtained were the Bladecrest Oath Sword and the Ashen Stalactite. And they're both really good, they do a lot of damage. They're basically the best melee and rogue weapon that I can get this early. And heading over to the desert to fight the next boss in progression, the Desert Scourge, I easily destroy it with my insane gear. Wait. Hold on. What's going on? What? I'm receiving reports of skill issue? Wow. With this new information, I've learned that actually I fucking died to the Scourge with this insane gear. All of it was for nothing, and no matter what I do, death is inevitable. But we move on. We grow and learn from our experiences. We get better at what we do. If you do something over and over and over, you can obtain skill. You hone your craft and become the best. Suddenly, you'll notice these things are coming easier to you. You don't have to think so hard about what you do anymore. You make progress. But not me. I stay bad. Finally, cut to me, back to where I was. I've beaten Skeletron, and I decided to open some shadow chests in Hell. And I don't know if you're aware, but before you fight the Wall of Flesh, voodoo demons are everywhere. And unfortunately, remember how my summon can attack through blocks? Well, it kills a voodoo demon and summons the Wall of Flesh, killing me when I tried to teleport back to my base, because guess what? You can't run from the Wall of Flesh. Learn that the hard way. Hey, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be coming out with more to this series soon. However, I think I'll be taking a short break since this is pretty devastating. But I'm not going to give up anytime soon. But yeah. Thanks for watching.